Hello everybody, I'm Amir Rao. I'm the CEO Director for Supergiant Games, and I'm here with our first our first attempt at a YouTube stream to go over our patch, which is called the High Speed Update. It's our fifth update for Hades. Our last update was the beefy update. It was a substantial update that introduced a third zone. And here we are with a High Speed Update, which introduces a new Olympian, who is Hermes. The purpose of this stream this time is to kind of give anyone watching developers kind of tour of the patch. Often for us working on the game, we have maybe like a different perspective. You know, if you're interested in how we came to some of the decisions, why we made some of the changes we made, or you're maybe just hearing about Hades for the first time and you just want to just see some gameplay, that's going to be the purpose of this stream. Before we get into the game itself, I want to just go over the patch. You know, back to this high speed update. Oh, I think the new music reference at the bottom is about to restart. The high speed update basically introduces Hermes, who's a brand new Olympian who has a number of different boons, and the boons kind of work a little bit different than what we might be used to with the 7 Olympians that we've released before. And I'll go into that when we go and get into Hades. We got 2 new enemies, the Soul Catcher and the Flame Wheels. So basically every time we've released a new zone, we've often had to update by including new enemies and new chambers and stuff afterwards, because you know there may be some that hit the cutting room floor, or we wanted to see what the response was. And you know, Asphodel got several new foes in the Mega Gorgon, the Gorgon, and the Skull Crusher, and in this case the Flame Wheel and the Soul Catcher are kind of the follow-on for Elysium. We got new chambers. We also have a new mini-boss fight, which is an alternative to fighting the Minotaur, or you can get it with the Minotaur, one after the other sometimes, and that can be its own thing. We also made a bunch of balance changes to devotion, to the that's the internal name, changes to the Trial of the Gods encounters, and a number of things like that. So here we go. Let's get into the game. So back to the Hades main menu. I'm just going to load our save. So here we are in our the courtyard of the House of Hades. So I think I'm gonna run the rail this time, and we're gonna or maybe I'm not. Am I gonna run the rail? I think I'm gonna run the rail. And we're gonna... Should we roll with the Zeus trinket? Yeah, that's fine. This is our friend Skelly. Good for testing your weapons on. For those unfamiliar with Hades, the rail is a weapon you unlock later. Its power is so tremendous it was hidden away by the gods. Its primary fire is this this main shot, and the secondary fire is this sort of mortar grenade type thing. One of the changes we made to the rail, actually can go over a couple of weapons changes. One of the main changes we made to the rail is it has less scatter. That's something that came up a lot. You know, I think we had kind of high hopes that the scatter, and it sort of still does a little bit, would lead to a certain kind of like dash and burst play. But people often use the dash kind of more defensively when using the rail, so we ended up pulling back the scatter. There's a couple of other changes too. So here on the bow, we've got stagger now on the primary fire, so that means it should be a little bit better at holding foes back. The secondary of the bow has always been kind of more about utility, though there are some builds that kind of build on the damage. And then finally, the other really noticeable weapon change that's probably worth discussing has to do with input buffering. So this is something that we've done a bunch of work with over time, but it ended up being like a pretty big overhaul underneath the surface. So in Hades, basically there are moments where sometimes you're briefly disabled, like after this shield charge, or with the bow secondary, it's kind of the moment right after I'm done firing. That's to kind of, you know, give the moves a sense of weight. And to just kind of give the combat a sense of flow. However, from the beginning, you could always kind of dash out of those disable windows. And what we've done is add input buffering so that if you hit the dash a little early, the character will still do it kind of like how you intended. This should make the gameplay feel like a little bit more smooth for people and take out some of the guesswork. There was sometimes, we would get feedback in our Discord like, hey, it's not, it's dropped my command or whatever, and this is an attempt to try to address that feedback. Anyway, let's go play some Hades. Let's see who we'll meet.
I'm ready. I'm getting out of here.
So, there's Hermes, I think.
This mark, almost like a bat wing. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Hey boss, found you. Good. Hermes, at your service. Pleasure. You are the talk of Olympus. Normally I wouldn't get mixed up, but for you, I'll be making an exception. Now come on, we've both got places to be.
All right. What do we got here? So these are some new boons from our god Hades. Hermes. He basically has a lot to do with speed, so you'll see that all over the place. In this case, he's offering to make me pass through foes, and basically I can rush up against foes and actually slow them down. It's kind of the inverse of what happens if you use the Whip Frenzy Pact of Punishment. I've got Rapid Cast, so this allows me to shoot faster and fully automatically, which is our terminology for you can just hold down the button. And then Swift Strike, which makes my main attack faster. I'm going to go ahead and take the Rapid Cast. The first thing you're going to notice is that if you're familiar with the game, normally when you slot a new Olympian, it takes up a slot on the left bar, but Hermes does not. That's because Hermes boons are additive. It means that they're designed to be used on top of other things. So you can use Hermes as like a complement to almost any type of build, which was something that we were really excited about doing. And it also means Hermes kind of works differently. He's served differently in the game, and he just ends up being like a very different kind of flavor for a god. So I just picked up Rapid Cast, so now I can shoot my cast way faster. You can see the little Hermes graphic there, done by Josh. So I'm gonna probably, because I picked that early on in the run, almost like the hammer, it's gonna determine a little bit of what I'm gonna try to build. And this time, I think I want to build around cast. I also want to build around cast because I buffed them. We made a bunch of balance changes to the main 7 Olympians, and as part of that, we've also rebalanced and retuned some of the way casting your Bloodstone works. So you'll see that most casts are more powerful than they were before, and you'll also see that you'll see that, and then you'll also see some different kind of damage values and numbers for the main Olympians. And when we get to one of those, I'll talk about some of the considerations there. One of the criticisms the cast sometimes gets is that, it locks you in place for the moment. It has some of those disables, which now will be, nicely buffered so you can dash out of them. But with the Rapid Cast, that is no longer the case. Playing a totally different game now. Just collect the Bloodstones, the game.
Coin for Charon.
I'm not running with Heat, so I won't be able to go get an amazing, epic ZEUS boon. But let's go check in with our friend Chaos.
I can take it. Let's see.
Tributes underneath the earth foretold of your arrival at this very moment, son of Hades, and I have anticipated it.
Alright, I was really hoping they would give me something that would update my cast, but they did not. So I'm going to go with no money, stronger special, because you can make a pretty insane special build with a rail. People asking about the specifics of some of the cast changes. So ARTEMIS's cast, it kind of homes and tracks a little bit better. Does more damage. Aphrodite's cast is streamlined to be a little bit easier to understand, like how it works, and it's also been made more powerful. Same with the Poseidon one. Blade riffs are pretty much just as good as they've ever been. For those of you who are rocking a lot of blade riffs during the beefy update, you'll be seeing a similar thing now. Oops, that was 3 misses. The rapid cast doesn't make me aim any better. Whoops. So, you know, one of the reasons we decided to do a stream is because I've actually been streaming the game fairly often, except for I've been doing it to an audience of just the people who work on the game. I often stream kind of like unfinished, pretty terrible early builds of Hades, so we can start to get a sense of what the progress is, and just gives people an opportunity to to check in on the work. We thought, well, why don't we actually stream like something that's finished and maybe not so in progress and not so terrible. So that's what we're doing. Our friends here, these wretches, they got the elite version, got very slightly more armor, but not much. I think that change made it all the way. Hopefully I'll only reference changes we actually shipped and not changes that we made along the way and then undid. That would be good. All right, here we go. We're about to fight kind of like the intense mid-boss type encounter for Tartarus, which can happen in 1 of 2 chambers. Whoops. I could really use a boon for my weapon or for my special. I actually really like this combination of enemies in this room. One of the subtle changes we made at the very tail end of the beefy update is that this room has very slightly higher zoom, so it should be a little bit easier to see where you're being attacked from. It's one of those things that one of the knobs we sometimes have on chambers, just in case we run into issues where it feels like a little compact, but part of the joy of each of the, kind of like the variety in the chambers in Hades is that you can see all the sort of, you fight at different scales and different zoom levels, and I knew that was coming. I am terrible at talking and playing, but that's okay, because I'm here to give you a developer perspective on the patch, and not to entertain you with my amazing gameplay itself.
Is behind you all the way throughout this whole affair.
Alright, so I like Lightning Strike, but because we're doing a cast build, I'm going to go with Electric Shot. Oh god. So the other thing is we buffed this Wrath a lot, but it takes a lot of gauge. It takes the full gauge to use, but like if you gave up on ZEUS Wrath before, consider coming back to it. That's all I have to say about that. Do I have money? I have 198. Is there a gold urn in here? By the way, if you're a neurotic urn smasher in Hades, unless you're using a certain keepsake from a certain person in the House of Hades, you don't need to smash every urn. But sometimes there are gold urns in the room, and they have gold inside of them. They have opals inside of them. I bet I'm going to be 2 gold short of something good. Maybe not, though. Hopefully, they're not going to sell me a hammer for 200 gold. Are they? Oh my god.
I can't.
Wow. You're kidding me. Who balances? Oh my god! There's an urn!
Took care of those for you, mate.
I got no money from that! I got no money from the urn! This game is in early access. There are bugs in this video game. I can't believe that. Whose fault is this? Is this Gavin? Is this Alice? Is this Ed? Is this my fault? Did I break the urns? Anyway, let's move on. So now I can't buy a hammer, which is really important because the Rails hammer upgrades are really, really important to doing well in this game. All right. I'm sure this run will go well. I'm sure I just won't embarrass myself too hard on stream. We'll see. So that's the rapid cast with the ZEUS cast, which I think is going to be really awesome, but we'll find out when there's more than one enemy. Right now these ones are, there's not too many of them. I still haven't figured out, The rest of the stream will be devoted to me figuring out who broke the urns, instead of giving you like the hard-hitting insight. Just me seeking to assign blame, which is unfair, really. It's not good, but that's anyway. Hades, out in early access now, has some bugs. Pretty few though. It's been pretty clean. Let's see if I get gold from this urn. I got gold. I got gold from that urn. Man, what is happening? What is happening in this game? All right, let's keep going. Oh, it's chaos! Oh, the chat was right. It's chaos. It's chaos. Man, good point. You guys should be streaming. Chat should be streaming. I don't know why I'm streaming. It's ostensibly because I know something. I'm going to go ahead and take, because I'm playing kind of not great, I'm going to take the Holy Shield.
Shield of life.
Hard for me a little bit to talk and play at the same time, but I'm going to try. I like the Hermes Rapid Cast with that. It's pretty good. The downside of using, ZEUS cast a lot of the time is you can always know where your Bloodstone is going to land, but maybe we'll pick up Artemis along the way, and she will give me something good there. So I'm going to do this trial for sure. I could use money. I could definitely use money now that I can earn money, because Master Chaos is not blocking my gold earn. Which means also my secondary is probably 89% more powerful than it was before. Yep, so I should be using that. So there's a lot of Hermes boons you can get. You could be getting boons that basically make your attacks faster, make your specials faster. You could be getting boons that make enemies slower. You can be getting boons that basically allow you to dodge or move faster after you dash. He even has a legendary boon that, the luckiest of the lucky will be able to find. There's kind of a lot of different things that Hermes could be doing, and our hope is that, like, sort of, it's one of the things that when you catch it, you stop for a second and ask yourself if this is something that augments your build or changes the direction for your build, which is a cool moment that sometimes happens in Hades. Let's see what's in this shop. So one of the other things you'll notice is that we raised the price of the Kiss of Styx, which is the thing that gives you an extra death defiance. So I'm sure that change will be very popular, but it's one of the things we ended up having to do.
Here we go again.
That is far enough.
All right, survival.
Got their attention.
And it's just short of the damage I need to. So, a lot of people, when I see them play these, one of the things they don't know is you can get gold in these encounters. So, if you're playing just to survive in one of these, you might be missing out on some valuable opals. I should probably stop calling it gold, because that's someone's calling the game. I'm sorry. One of the things that's probably going to keep happening on these streams if we keep doing them, unless they're some sort of disaster, is that there's the developer names we use for stuff, and then there's like what the names end up being by the time we're done.
What's that? Let's see how we can
Okay, so spread fire is cool because it's a shotgun, and shotguns are fun. Triple bomb is good because I took the chaos thing already. That allows me to have higher. Yeah, I'm gonna take the triple bomb. So explosive fire is like a really popular rail upgrade, and one of the changes we made in this update is you can actually like see what's happening underneath it because the explosion is less opaque.
Let me see.
This is going to be an opportunity to show you something else, and I might be run ending, but I mean that's part of the fun, right? So this is a trial of the gods. So let's go in here, and you kind of know what this is about.
One of them's going to be mad.
You have to choose one, and whoever you don't choose ends up making things a little bit more challenging for you in the subsequent encounter. We redid all of the potential types of Trial of the Gods you could get, and they all have their own unique flavor, and they're also way harder, so it's less of like a automatic choice for people. I'm gonna go ahead and take Athena, so we can look at what the Zeus one is like. I'm gonna take her Wrath. I like Athena Wrath for when I'm playing poorly.
It isn't wise to go against me, nephew, both in matters large and...
Whoops, I clicked through that.
Sorry, Lord Zeus.
Okay, so as you can see, in this encounter now, Zeus is elected to throw lightning at me in this tiny Tartarus chamber while I try and dodge for my life. The good thing is I have triple bombs, so I can kind of focus on dodging while I shoot out bombs. These are a lot more challenging, and with heat they're even crazier. So they should make them more interesting overall for players who were hoping for a little bit something more for ticking off your uncles or family, your Olympian family. The rewards for the second one are also reduced at the moment. So you'll see that basically I'm not getting as powerful stuff from the second boon, which hopefully, again, adds to what's interesting about which one you take first and which one you take second. And I'm going to take the Jolted one because I'm using the Lightning Cast. Jolted was also buffed a lot, so it's doing a lot more damage. We also clarified how it works. The way Jolted works is if you strike someone with Lightning Bolt, you basically can electrify them, and when they're jolted, they take damage when they attack. So we're about to face a Fury. I think we want the sandwich too.
One thing I'll say for Charon there, he doesn't talk too much. And since neither do you, I'm letting you have this.
Okay, this is what we're talking about. So we're going to take fully loaded here because we want extra ammo with our cast build. So now let's just look at this for fun. Yeah, that's good. And then, can I get both of these? I can. Power of math.
Much better.
Okay, let's go see who we're going to fight.
Oh, good.
Oh god, let's see what happens.
How about no?
I'm not great at Tisiphone.
No murder.
I think everyone has the Fury that they struggle with, and this is the one I struggle with. Alright, here we go. Oh! You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to use my special. Why take damage? Where did my... Oh, she has all my bloodstones. Great. Yeah, it is a Euro. I'm sorry for calling it a sandwich. I apologize to everyone. Whoops. That was the exact wrong dash cadence. Where is she? Right, what else did we do here? Did we make any changes to the Furies? I don't think we did. Probably fix bugs. We're always fixing Fury bugs. Oh, we introduced bugs. We added bugs to the Fury. But we fixed those before we launched, I think. I think we fixed them. They felt pretty fixed to me. I love this when this fight gets in this really small room. It's just a pretty cool feeling. Woo! I'm gonna use some Athena Wrath. I'm gonna finish her off with a cast.
They'll wrongfully accuse somebody else.
I've done it. On our way to Asphodel.
Tisiphone has failed me, has she?
Got to keep going.
Let's go ahead and See what's in the well shop.
What's for sale?
Kiss the Sticks, not there. Do I want a Chaos Gate, though? I wonder if I want a Chaos Gate. I want a Chaos Gate.
Something new to try.
What will help my cast out? So I'm missing a keepsake here now because I don't have Hermes keepsake on the save. I feel like this is a... I think this is a chance for me to use Artemis to get more Artemis stuff.
Okay.
That is what I'm going to do.
Heading up.
So I want to talk about one of the other bigger balance changes in here, which is the rebalancing of the Olympian damage numbers. One of the things that we always have to ask ourselves are like, oh my god, I paid for this Chaos Gate, but I want the Hermes boon. I'm gonna take the Hermes boon. So anyway, one of the things we have to ask ourselves are, every god kind of in the order of how much damage they do, we have to value like how good their secondary effects are. I love this. Feels like an old Diablo 2 Chain Lightning build or something. They'll kind of kill each other, kill themselves when they attack too. So, Athena has Deflect, Poseidon has Knockback, Artemis has Crits, Aphrodite makes enemies weaker so they do less damage to you, and so on and so forth. Dionysus has the Poison, and Ares has the Curse. So, one question is, if you were going to assign damage values to them, which secondary effect kind of is the strongest? And over the course of development, that answer I feel like has changed.
Gust of air.
At least for me. So we've done a lot to kind of adjust how that works, and we re-tiered them based on our new view of the relative value of each of the different god status and additional effects. All right, here we go. Let's gift Hermes.
Lord Hermes, please accept this gift as a small token of my appreciation. Thank you for always keeping me on my toes.
Oh, mighty king of you to leave a tip there, boss. And I have a tip for you. Don't be slow. Maybe this will help with that.
Lord
Cool.
Hermes,
New.
I'm in your debt.
This keepsake is pretty cool. If we have time at the end, I might run just like a little bit of Tartarus with it.
Olympus, I accept this message.
Oh, shoot! Okay, I got the legendary, which feels really like close your eyes if you wanted to experience this yourself. But this is good because it's 3 totally different boons than I drew last time. So I have Drift Dash, which allows me to move faster after I dash. I have the Greater Haste, which allows me to go quicker, and then I have this just overall. And the cool thing about Greater Haste is it stacks with all the other movement speed increases. So there's a really interesting kind of Greater Haste build you can put together using Hermes' new keepsake and some of the things you can buy from well shops. Finally, we have Relative Speed, which is the legendary, and I am not going to take it. I think that's probably going to make some people frustrated, but I want to show off some Drift Dash, and I want people to experience the legendary themselves. So hopefully no one like busts down the door when they find out I did this, but this is what's happening. I'm taking the Drift Dash. So Drift Dash. Drift Dash basically allows you to move really speedily after you dash. And so it changes the rhythm from being dash, which is something you do a lot in the game, to allowing you to kind of dash in a different way and chain together stuff. So I also kind of really like it for the cast build I'm putting together. The legendary is really good if you're fighting in close range because it slows enemies around you when you dash. And that can be additive with other dash powers. But I haven't put together a dash build, and I'm not using a melee weapon really. I'm just casting. So for that reason, I am foregoing this and taking the Drift Dash. And running into lava with my much increased move speed. So this is pretty cool because this is just a build you wouldn't have made before the high speed update. Drift Dash, faster cast, jolted enemies killing themselves in random places with a triple bomb. So it can be pretty hard with a Drift Dash to like get out of the muscle memory of how you're used to dashing, but it's pretty rewarding when you do. So Poseidon is often one of the kind of gods whose boons are sometimes maligned for maybe feeling like they don't work as well on bosses and stuff. So we buffed a lot of his boons. We buffed a lot of them, and in particular, he became the new Olympian who has the highest sort of base increases to attack and secondary. So it means you can expect. Whoops! I think I'm a bit hit by that. Nope. It means you can expect Poseidon to hopefully feature in builds that are prizing attack damage. I also think it's kind of. I wonder. I won't know. I wonder if it'll have an effect to Hoff and people want to use the bow or not. Because I think Poseidon on the bow can be a pretty good synergy depending on like what heat packed sort of setup you're running. But that's one of those things we kind of look out for, and we'll see. Whoa! So you can tell this is our first time doing this because the webcam just fell off. I hope that's about okay, but I'm not going to stop to check. We're just going to keep going. Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat as much as I should be. I hope you guys are something. I hope something is happening. I'm hoping this is valuable in some way. I'll try to look down a little bit more when I'm not busy trying to stay alive. So anyway, part of the retiering of the damage too is that like when we added Elysium, kind of like what you prize is a little bit different, and how you have to consider and put together a build that might be good enough for taking down Theseus and Minotaur and all that kind of stuff. Those all become considerations. So one of the things that comes up a little bit is that the rail doesn't stagger, but it actually has something that I think is pretty good, which is it sort of slows enemies that are being hit, and that even works on elites. So you can get some pretty good kind of like value out of the rail, kind of if you're just trying to keep enemies into like, see, I'm using it to try to pin them down and keep them in that circle more than I am using it to try and damage them. But that's a subtle thing. What is this? 100 gold? 100 gold? Take 100 gold.
Who dares?
Let's make this quick.
There we go. That was fun because I started casting kind of before they finished spawning, based on what I thought was going to happen. Oops. So Hermes Keepsake, which we'll hopefully take a look at the end of this, has really opened my eyes to how reckless, how fun it can be to be reckless. Hermes new. Ooh, wow. Okay, this is a tough one. Talk about Hermes Keepsake in a second. I can sort of skip a fight and go to the shop, or I can gamble on getting the Mega Gorgon, or what people have been referring to as the Murder Boat. And I read that in Discord so often I don't even remember what it's called. I think it might be called the Asphodel River Crossing. But we want Artemis. We're here for Artemis, so we'll take whatever this is. For those of you who are following along in the beefy update and might have caught the patch where we made these have a lot of health. We walked that back towards the end of the beefy update, so they're not as crazy as they were, but they're still got a little bit more heft to them. Oops, I just kind of fired a Zeus shot off. Let's see what we got here. I've got a pretty much I've got a pretty full mirror. I think I have like everything except for the on this particular save. I've got everything except for the. Oops, messed that one up. The Fated Authority. All right, what do we got here?
Good hunting, Zagreus. The sooner you get out of there, the sooner you can save me from my insufferable relatives. Please?
Yeah, so this is not my first run. So I've played hundreds and hundreds of runs of Hades. This is on this save. This is my 34th run. So I've powered up my character a lot through the Mirror of Darkness, and I'm not going to take Deadly Strike. I'm going to take Exit Wounds because it helps when my Bloodstones are lodged in enemies. It'll do damage to them. It works with the cast build I'm putting together. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through chat. Any questions? Nah, we'll just keep going. The witches who are armored, they have slightly more armor than they did before. Their value, I feel like they needed a little bit more to hang with the kinds of builds that I think you can typically put together by the time you reach Estel. So we talked about Trial of the Gods. We didn't get a chance to talk about Hermes Keepsake. So Hermes, so if you recall, Thanatos' Keepsake, the Pierced Butterfly, basically asks the player to have what are, we think of as perfect clears, which is going through a chamber without taking any damage. And that requires a certain level of skill with the game. It requires a certain level of understanding. And then Hermes is kind of the opposite. Hermes basically asks the player to clear a chamber in 30 seconds. But if they do it, they basically are allowed to they get increased dodge and increase move speed. So it's like a thing that you can use to make yourself go like way faster throughout the run. And it stacks with Hermes boons, so you can make a pretty crazy move speed or dodge based build. One of the great pieces of feedback in Discord, and I'm just checking that it's working. Yeah, it did work. Was they wanted unique sounds, so you knew when there was a trove in the room or when you knew the well shop was in the room, because you can already tell when there's a chaos portal in a chamber, and so now there are unique sounds. I heard the one for the trove trial, which is why I went around looking for it.
Come forth, wretches, and stop this meddler.
Those people, who might have just tuned into the stream at some point, we don't know what they're watching. You're watching the new title from Supergiant Games. It's Hades. We're here showing, it's in early access right now on the Epic Games Store, and we're here showing our update, which just came out today. It's called the High Speed Update.
You lived through all of that.
There we are.
All right. I want darkness, but I don't want a harder fight, so I'm just going to take the middle darkness. Woo! That was really badly played by me. I'm trying to remember what the other balance changes were. There were a lot. So Ares got a bunch of changes too, and Ares even got a redesigned legendary. That's one of the things, I think the legendaries, a lot of them have been tuned, but are kind of mostly untouched since launch. Once we started making duo boons, we thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity to look at some of the legendaries to make sure they still pass muster, and many of them did, but Ares did not. Ares was one of the hardest to pull off in the game. The old legendary was called Curse of Eternity. It required you to get a curse and a blade rift on an enemy, and it would basically refresh one or the other. When we fixed up Curse of Longing, sorry, I'm just like not paying attention. When we picked up Curse of Longing, which was the duo boon with Ares and Athena, we basically addressed the idea of like a refreshing curse. So that meant that Ares legendary was out in the cold, and we needed to do something with it. So enter Vicious Cycle, which is for people who like cast-based builds with Ares, who like blade rifts. It's a legendary that basically enhances the blade rift in a really interesting way. It actually, so lava, if you've ever noticed, if you ever stand in lava, let's see if I can do this without wasting a Death Defiance. So when you stand in lava, you take additional damage the longer you stand in it. So we use that technology and added it to the Ares Rift, so the longer that you're in an Ares Rift, the more damage you take, which is pretty cool. It can adjust a little bit how you play with it, and then, yeah, makes it do a lot more damage. remind myself I have 5 cast. If I make it to Elysium, I wonder how this is going to fare, this build, this cast build. I've done it before, but not with ZEUS cast. And, you know, obviously, I would say not playing super well, or not playing as well as I play when I'm not trying to remember what all the patch notes were.
Shall protect you, cousin.
So just activated my Wrath from Athena to try and stay alive.
What do we have here? Hear me on my authority.
I don't want dash attacks. I think I'm actually, you know, I've been like skipping anything from my main attack because I don't really. I'm just using it to pin people down. I wonder if the special is good. Critting on the special with a triple bomb, it feels like it's more likely to happen. So even though it's only a common, I'm going to take it. So one of the skills we kind of like put together in, like one of the skills I think almost like wasn't introduced by the Beefy update, but it really started to be tested by the Beefy update. Sorry, now I'm looking for gold urns everywhere. No gold urns. Okay. Is the idea of putting together a build that synergizes lots of different types of god boons. I love that Greg has like unique lines for when you buy them out of the shop, and Hermes is no exception. Hermes has lots of really interesting lines, including, you know, I think some really unexpected stuff that, you know, we always think it'll take forever for people to find them, but we'll see on this one. Since I'm playing really poorly, you know what? Okay, so I'm actually going to take the Blight Strike because in the Beefy update we added a new mirror upgrade called Privileged Status, which said if you get 2 of these kind of like status curses on an enemy, they take plus 50% damage. And because I have the Electric Shot doing Jolted and the Blight Strike from the attack, which is a long-lasting status effect, it means that I will hopefully have really high privilege status uptime. So you're going to see another change from the patch here, unless I die before it happens, which is we basically, 592 damage crit on the special. We made it so the Hydra has better animations, so you can see I'm getting a lot of privilege status uptime now. So that's the different and updated death animation. And Drift Dash actually makes this getting away from stuff a lot easier in this fight. I did that in the wrong order. I was supposed to cast, then fire, and then do that. Okay. The idea is I want the privilege status on them for before the triple bomb lands. Nice. Crit. Plus 50 damage crit. Saving my Wrath charges for the 6-head wave. So, I mean, one of the things that I think, one of the most exciting changes in this update is to the roadmap. And I'm going to talk about that after I try not to get killed by this Hydra. Yeah, Drift Dash is where it's at for dodging this stuff. There we go. Okay, so if you ever wonder what you're supposed to do at this moment, it's to look where the next Hydra is coming from. You're trying to stay ahead. If you ever struggle with the Hydra, try to stay ahead of the spawns. So keep an eye out for where they're spawning and try and put something together. If you're struggling with a game in general, like damage output, especially in Elysium, there's a lot of different strategies to putting together good builds, and like I said, the Beefy update was trying to challenge people to put together good God Boon synergies that will work over the long haul, over a longer game, and like trying to get privilege status up is a good example of that type of strategy. It's like, hey, am I close to having 2 God status effects with what I have? Can I use that to try and kind of amp my damage so I have to stay alive less time? Covert Muffin, a member of our Discord, he wrote the first kind of like, I think 120 heat guide that people were using around the Murder Death Kill update and update 3, and I think he put it really well where it's like, hey, the way he thinks about heat is, or the way he thinks about the game is, you're doing more damage, you have sort of less time where you can make mistakes. So it's a high damage build is like kind of ideal. There you go, better death animation, to try and put something together. I totally lost my train of thought. High damage build is useful because you're able to sort of give yourself an opportunity to not have to have a more mistake tolerant kind of experience.
I trust you had a pleasant stay in Asphodel.
So I mean,
Very much.
we're headed to the 3rd biome now, which is where some of the additional changes that we made to the game are lurking. This time I'm gonna take. I'm not gonna take the Lament Plume for this. I'm gonna take the Lucky Tooth. Why not?
Get me out of here.
Yeah, we did make changes to enemies' visibility through explosions because all the explosive effects that the player has are now a little bit more tame. Okay, hammer on the first door Elysium is as good as it gets. Whoops. So in Elysium, you have to always be tracking the shades. And you need to know where their little oh, here's a new enemy! New hero. So basically, this is the Soul Catcher, and it spawns these beautiful butterflies. Oops. And the butterflies hurt you. So it's one of the idea was to have an enemy that was like less mobile and crazy because the shades are so the Elysium kind of main those forgotten champion type shades are so wild, and so this is just something that you can't ignore. You kind of want to get your way to them, and I love their death animation too. There go all the butterflies. It's also like a bit of a hilarious inside joke, which I will refer. Okay, Heavy Slug is real good, but I took Poison, so I'm not going to take Heavy Slug. I'm not going to take Explosive Fire. I'm going to take Flurry Fire. Should I take Heavy Slug? I'm going to take Flurry Fire. So we've already met one of the first of the 2 new foes, which is pretty cool. Actually, didn't know that was going to happen. Another thing is like, a lot of the feedback, some of the feedback we got around Elysium is like people find fighting the shades a little intense, and we reduced. We made some small balance tweaks to the shades, but also the addition of these enemies means the proportion of how often you fight them is a little bit changed, which we hope will kind of make you almost welcome seeing those guys when you do. So Flurry Fire is good for what I'm trying to do right now because I'm trying to put together fast poison stacks with privilege status and all that. So, and since I'm mostly using my attack to kind of slow the enemies down and keep them in, just got a good trap kill, second nature trap kills. Oh, so flurry spawners. So they are doing what I'd hoped they were doing, which is make me want to kill them. So they spawned right next to that trap. If I can get that to explode. There we go. like I was in the middle of talking about something having to do with Elysium, but we'll never know what that was. And whatever great wisdom, we'll never have it. It's tragic. If you're wondering the types of balance changes we did make to some of the Elysium enemies, it was, aside from the ones we made during the BP update, the archer timing is a little bit more consistent. The shield bearing shade has a little bit less health. It was sort of like really small things, which we hope make them a little bit more manageable. I think I want more bounces. Is that crazy? Is that crazy talk? I think we want the cast to bounce more. We're all in on this cast now. And because we're all in this cast, I think we just need more Zeus in our lives. Oh yeah, it was the roadmap! Thank you for the reminder. So, you know what? We're going to talk about the roadmap when I die. We're going to talk about the roadmap when I die. That's the idea. You know what I would love to know? It's 1:02, so I actually only wanted to stream for an hour so that people could just play the update themselves. So I'm gonna go reckless. So actually, we're not gonna talk about the roadmap later. We're gonna talk about it now. I'm gonna play and talk about the roadmap. Doing this always gives you a ton of respect for like people who stream both for a living or just more consistently because of the wherewithal it takes to be entertaining, to be responsive to your chat. Shout out to like all the people who have streamed Hades. There's been a lot of amazing streamers. Curl, Celerity, just Gamepedia is doing it right now. There's so many people who we tune into and just like watch them. Anyway, I don't know. I'm very unskilled at talking while playing. So unskilled that I keep forgetting to tell you about the roadmap. Oh, this is a nerf. Clouded Judgment. It's a little nerf now. I'm still going to take it because I want faster Raskin. One of the things that we're going to be doing now, I wonder if this will be the new boss. One of the things, will I ever tell you about the roadmap? I don't know if I'll ever. Darn, it's not the new boss. All right. I'm going to fight the Minotaur and tell you about the roadmap word for word.
You mean face both of you together, which doesn't seem particularly fair.
Uh-oh. Gotta let them talk.
Isn't particularly fair, short one, nor deaf.
We love this Elysium track.
Expected you to know as much. But
Oops. Oops. Okay, so the roadmap. We've like varied our update cycles and cadences pretty, trying to figure out what works for us. Like, what's the right kind of amount of content we can get into an update? What's the right amount of time it takes to kind of get art in there, to evaluate it, get audio in there, to introduce or expand on the characters, to add new like kind of boon content or weapons or any of those types of things, or just tune the stuff that's in the game and polish it. And the Beefy update was our first sort of like 2-month update, and we had such a sort of positive experience with that we are going to continue to use that cadence of basically 2 months to do updates. But also, the next update we're going to make contains the 4th biome. So I think a lot of people might have expected that to happen later, but it's the very next update that you're going to play has everything you might expect from a biome. So we're really excited about that. We're working on it now. We've been working on it actually for a little bit, and yeah, I'm just really happy that people won't have to wait too long to experience it. I guess that's how I would phrase my excitement.
I beat the bull of Minos.
Woo! We fixed the little like long delay after that sometimes. small bugs. Fix in early access. Yes. Okay. So quick reload. So the foes drop. So I have like the perfect cast build. I have quick reload, which we nerfed, but is still awesome. I have Zeus cast. I have jolted on the cast. you know what would have been better is if I had Chaos giving me the cast buff, but that's still fine. I have triple bomb, which basically lets me just like not use my primary weapon that often if I don't want to. One of the other things, and I'll be interested to see how this goes, we did is not so much with Artemis, but with a lot of the other gods, the amount of damage they add to secondary attacks is increased. So hopefully that means some of the secondary focus builds will also come out. Those attacks in general tend to have like longer, kind of like longer disables and cooldowns and are for more specialized situations. But I think we're going to hopefully see more builds that kind of utilize that stuff. I think people are already making builds that utilize that stuff. They might just have like a little bit easier time with it, I would say. Ah, the inside joke about the butterflies. There we go. Man, thank God for chat. This is... the inside joke about the butterflies is basically... I was gone for a portion of our work on the BB update. At Supergiant, we encourage everyone to take reasonable amounts of time off every year so that they can come back recharged creatively and ready to work. And I was gone for a bit. Before I left, though, I made sure to let the art team know about the aspect of the game I thought was most lacking in the BT update, which they fixed before we shipped, for the most part, I think. Man, I'm going to die before Thesis in the Minotaur. I'm dying because of the art team. The art team is doing this to me. Basically, if you will look at this map, at this chamber right now, I'm going to die before I'm able to finish the story. Because such is my level of resentment at my colleagues. You can tell what you're fighting because, they have high motion, they have high contrast on the map and stuff like that. It didn't always used to be the case because of butterflies. Look at this butterfly. Look at this butterfly right here. It's very tastefully and slowly moving around. It didn't used to be the case. There used to be hordes of butterflies stacked on top of each other. Hundreds, if not thousands of butterflies in every chamber, which, was meant to add life to the environment, but I thought was distracting, and they fixed it before, by the time I came back, and I was very grateful to them for that. But of course, when it came time to make a new enemy, it meant that there was just going to be a million butterflies. So, I guess I deserve whatever happened. Speaking of a million butterflies. I didn't even know there was a line about the butterflies. One of the coolest things about working on this game is like experiencing a lot of Greg, Darren, and Logan and all the voice actors work in context. I have one Death Defiance. This is the mega, this is like the new, I don't even know what this version of the Soul Catcher is called. But this fight is really cool. It's actually based on an idea that Eduardo made a long time ago, and we just kind of spruced it up. These sort of the little shade souls spawn, and they run towards weapons that are pre-placed. So part of the thing you're doing in this map is trying to stop the shades from reaching their weapons, which I failed to do already, while also fighting hordes of butterflies, which was my nightmare, as we described before, and is now canon in the game. Okay, I have one life. The feedback on the arrow stuff should be a little bit more consistent and better. It's cool, like that ZEUS cast, I don't know that it used to bounce off the shield like it does there. I think that was new from the patch, which hopefully should make it feel like casts are a little bit more viable against the shield because it's not just being lodged and doing nothing, and being stolen from you. Gotta make this life last. There we go. Butterflies. I'm glad I got to tell the butterfly story. That's pretty cool that I got to. I didn't even pay attention to what I picked there. Whoops. Anyway. I didn't know if I was ever going to get to tell that story. This is the joy of a dev stream. I think I'd forgotten about the butterflies. The harm they had done me. Yeah, but I mean, the art team has done such an amazing job on this game. In particular, I think Elysium really showcases some cool work. There's just some, you know, and this is like, you know, whoops. You know, doing something in early access is new for us, so often we have, I died. Often we have a lot of time to kind of, well, is Gen Z defending herself in chat? Often we have time to, like, polish our stuff before it goes out in the world, and, you know, this is, you know, we want to make sure every update has that right mix of kind of polish and love and care, but also kind of moves the game forward, and that's been challenging across all fronts. But I think the artists have really, over many updates, sort of found the stride of that right balance, so that, you know, it still feels like a game that's from us, from our level of quality. I'm not going to talk to anyone right now. I might talk to the broker. No, look at that. He's surprised to see me. Yeah, I've died. So probably answer a few questions. Hades, we think we will leave early access next year. Thanks for all the apps, everyone. I think I have to stop. It's 1:15. Yeah, I've got 2 minutes. Well, I'll just show you how the Hermes keepsake works, and then I'll stop. Here we go.
Let's see here.
Lambent Plume, so you get increased dodge chance and move speed for every encounter clear. I'm going to use something I can clear encounters with fast. Take the shield in this case. It's a little bit more aggressive. Oh yeah, the new Hypnos portrait. I just skipped past talking about how great I mean, it's not brand new, but it's cool because it's an interesting. It made some interesting updates. All right. I can show you the new Shatter Shot too. So Shatter Shot now, it like more cleanly pierces through enemies, and you see a single damage number. So it's like, it should be more clear like how good it is. It was always good. It's just more clear how good it is. And then the way the Hermes update works is, the way the Hermes keepsake works is, if I clear this room in 30 seconds, and you can see the little timer moving on the left side. Which kind of encourages you to play recklessly. Then you get a little clear bonus, and then if I can do enough of them and kind of build that up through Tartarus, I'll be moving and dodging like crazy. Anyway, so that's one of the things there. I have to start wrapping this up. Let us know if you thought that was interesting. It's just something we decided to do yesterday, and here we are. This is Hades. It's in early access on the Epic Games Store. You can check out all the patch notes on our website or in Discord or in the game itself. I missed tons of them, but they're all here. It's super interesting to work on, and I really am excited to see the kinds of experiences people have with Hermes and putting together, and some of the changes we made to the Trial of the Gods and all the balance updates we did, added art. Hermes has hundreds of lines. Added and all that kind of stuff. We fixed a lot of bugs from Elysium. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And then, hey, we'll be working on the next biome, and you'll have that in 56 days. It says right here. It says when you're going to have it. How convenient is that? So yeah, I really appreciate the time that you guys spent with me today to get a developer's perspective on the high-speed update. I'll look forward to hearing your feedback on the game. I'll be in Discord, looking for the changes we want to make. Every update to Hades includes, almost half the changes are community-driven changes. So if you're interested in getting in early, in helping us make Hades the best possible game it can be, and kind of working with us in partnership to try and create something awesome, feel free to check it out. If you want to wait till it's done, that's totally fine too. If you're waiting for it to come to a specific platform, or you just want to play it when it's finished, that's totally great. But if you're someone who might be interested in the experience of seeing what it's like when our stuff is in a state where it's kind of evolving and we're making stuff together, go ahead and check it out. And also, thank you to everybody in the Discord and the subreddit and everywhere else who has given us feedback and helped us make this game. I think the premise of us doing a game in early access was hopefully it would lead to us making the best possible game and the best game we could make. And I think, this is our 5th update and it's proving to be the case. So thank you so much to our fans and everyone out there. I hope you have an awesome day. I'm going to leave this on for a little bit and we're going to close the stream. Thanks, everybody.